Whether you shoot narrative film, YouTube or corporate videos, or documentaries, one thing is certain. Your parents are disappointed in your career choice. That, and also all that footage you shot, will need to be edited. Shooting for the edit means setting yourself up for success by considering your planning, coverage, and continuity before you get to the editing room and realize all of the terrible and avoidable mistakes you made on your shoot day. So here's some things to consider both on set as well as way before you get there. No matter what you're shooting, it'll go smoother if you have thoroughly planned out exactly what you're going to shoot first. For things like narrative films and music videos, this will often be in the form of storyboards and shot lists. Storyboards are a visual representation of what your video will look like that you and/or a crew can work from, and a shot list is a document that breaks down individual shots, camera angles, and movements. Now, in addition to helping you visualize what your video will look like in pre-production, these also serve as a log during your shoot day of all the shots you need to get to tell your story, and you can cross them off throughout your shoot day so that you stay on track. Film coverage is defined as the total footage needed to communicate the visual purpose of a scene. The amount and type of coverage you'll need to get will vary based on what type of video you're shooting, but traditionally coverage includes things like wide, medium, and close-up shots, while narrative film specifically might also include things like over-the-shoulder shots and extreme close-ups. I'll say this right now though, time permitting, there's no such thing as too much coverage. Your shot list and your storyboard should always be your North Star regarding essential shots to get, but sometimes grabbing that one extra boring, wide safety shot ends up being the duct tape that keeps your scene together in the edit. The goal of coverage is to give yourself or your editor as many options as possible on how to assemble a scene, because so many things can come up. If an actor flubs a line, or your camera shakes a little during a key shot, or a boom mic falls into frame midway through that otherwise perfect tracking shot, giving yourself a different angle to cut to can be huge. And if you're shooting documentary films, or let's say hypothetically product videos for a large photo, video, and pro audio company, you need to get even more coverage. If you don't have the luxury of extensive pre-production time, sometimes you need to piece together your visual narrative for your scene in the edit, and tons of quality footage is key for this. Continuity is another big one to keep in mind. This is the process of making sure that objects in the frame stay consistent from one shot to the next or one scene to the next. It's one thing to remember big details like making sure your actors have the same wardrobe if you're shooting one scene over multiple days, but you've got to keep an eye on the small details too. On the note of eyes, eyeline matching is a big one. Eyelines are simply the direction your actors are looking, but they can be key in keeping your audience oriented in the geography of the scene. If you want a character to notice something on their kitchen countertop, let's say, you'll want to make sure you have a shot of them looking in the correct direction before cutting to that object. Another subtle bit of continuity to keep in mind is the 180-degree rule. This is a cinematography rule that developed over the years that states that your camera should stay on one side of an imaginary line between actors to maintain visual consistency for your audience. So in a scene with two characters talking, one character should always remain on the right side of the frame, while the other should stay on the left. Now, both of these rules are things that you never notice in films that are doing this correctly, but if you break eyeline or the 180-degree rule in your edit, the audience will feel it, even if they can't quite articulate why it feels off.
We need to talk about Tyler.
What about him?
He's been living here for like a year now. He doesn't contribute, and I'm constantly cleaning up after him.
He's going through a rough patch. You know it's not easy to find a job these days. Finally, a few more quick tips. If you're using a slate, respect it and keep it accurate, especially if you're handing off footage to someone else to edit. Hunter, isn't that helpful for you? Also, make sure to get handles. These are the little bits of footage you record before and after the meat of your shot, and they're important for managing transitions since you'll often need a little bit of extra footage at the tail end of your shot to transition to the next one.
And action.
No matter what you're filming, being prepared in pre-production and detail-oriented in production will go a long way towards making your life a cakewalk in post-production. Now, obviously what I talked about here is not an exhaustive list of tips and techniques to shoot for the edit, so please drop a comment below and share your own tips that have saved your butt in the edit. Until next time though, I'm Nick with B&H. Stay creative.